Ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening.
Are you ready?
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Deal Room Podcast. Join us as we bring you the inside scoop on business sales and acquisitions. Get across trends in the area and hear the industry's best recount their real-life tips, traps, and experiences. Now, here's your host, Joanna Oakey.
Hi, it's Joanna Oakey here and welcome back to the Deal Room Podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. Now, today we have on the show Nigel Hall from Bonza Business and Franchise Sales. Nigel is a serial entrepreneur who has achieved 4 exits and 22 transactions. He's an angel investor in multiple early stage biotech, nanotech, and IT businesses, and he is currently a director of Bonza Business and Franchise Sales. And today we're talking all about systems and processes. In fact, we're talking about one of my favorite topics, innovation, and innovation from the perspective of the use of technology and systems and processes in the world of business broking. Now, this is a great episode. We talk all about what systems and processes can create a massive advantage in the business broking arena. We talk about lots of different ways to implement technology and systems and processes. And we talk about the impact of those systems and processes in practicality. So this is a great episode for you to listen into. Here we go with our discussion with Nigel. Nigel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me, Joanne. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Now, look, we do a lot of work with you guys, and I've got to say I'm always extremely impressed by the way in which your brokers are always across the deals. And in fact, I've had lots of conversations with your brokers recently where they've made comments to me like, you know, it's the systems that enable us to be able to be on top of these matters the way we are. And I just thought it'd be really interesting if we spent some time talking about systems and technology. I love systems. Everything that we do here at Aspect Legal is backed up by really strong systems and processes. It's something that I think is absolutely imperative to a great product. And I've always sensed that you guys are exactly the same. And maybe if we can talk first. So today I really want to talk about technology, and I want to talk about systems, and I just want to talk about the benefits of approaching broking from the perspective of maximization of technology, maximization of systems. But maybe if you can start by giving us a little bit of a background about you and Bonza and your approach and where your approach came from and why.
Yeah, so we actually started out in the market because we saw that small business owners actually were underserviced. And they're underserviced, but however, they're paying a premium price for that. So we started off really looking at the market, how could we disrupt it? And to disrupt a market, you quite often have to use technology. So we looked at it from a point of view of what's the process of selling a business, and built systems to enable us to really streamline that process, but also to track it and make sure it stayed on track. So our interaction with clients is very much driven by our processes. And those processes are in a system that makes sure that everything gets noted, all calls are recorded, SMSs, every piece of correspondence is in there. Hence, when somebody phones up and they pop up on our screen and we can see who it is straight away, we know exactly where they are in that process. We know exactly who's talking to them, and we can see what the buyer's selling, what the seller's selling, where they are, and bring those two together almost seamlessly, with using a process to get things done rather than just using pieces of paper or hoping that things work on a timeline. And you know, I'd have to say, working with Aspect has enabled us to recommend a legal company who works on the same basis that we do as well, which means we're getting more deals done in an efficient manner, which is all about, that's what our business is about, being efficient for our clients.
And I've got to say, I have really recognised that in, I feel like we come from a very similar, values base in terms of the way that number one, the way that we approach our clients, but also number two, the emphasis that we have on systems and processes and technology. And it's a real pleasure to deal with other people in the space when we're aligned with those sorts of things. But where did that come from? Where did the ideas, and you talked about, you saw this gap in the market, but seeing a gap in the market is different to then being able to come in and implement a system. Because, look, I reckon I've spent 20 years putting together our systems and processes. Stuff like this doesn't happen overnight, and it takes absolutely massive commitment because it's hard, but it doesn't just appear. You must have a background, that sort of enabled you to be able to visualize how you put together this, bolt together the technology and systems.
Yeah, I think there's three of us started Bonza together. We've all got different skill sets. We've all come from a transactional background. My transactional background was with Ernst & Young in mergers and acquisitions, and then starting up companies and buying companies and selling companies, but for my own. And my other two partners come from franchise sales and from business sales. So we looked at that and sat down for about 6 months and put together what we really wanted to do to approach the market and built the systems around that. And we've evolved a lot over time. The systems weren't perfect to start with, and they're definitely not perfect now, but we're constantly working on and constantly investing in that space just to make sure that people do really see the benefit of us taking a lot of the new technology that's in the market, using it for the benefit of our clients, both the buyers and the sellers, so that we can service them quicker, more consistently, and they know what they're getting. That's key. We can't afford for a broker to have a bad day, and because of that, a deal falls over. It has to be done to a process, and we have to maintain a service level that we really offer our clients.
Yeah. And can we step through quickly, what are those systems and technologies or processes that are fundamental to your approach?
I think, first of all, it's we advertise broadly, which is key for our clients. However, when those inquiries come in, we actually use a system that processes them automatically, so that anybody inquires gets a response within an hour. Whereas if someone's inputting those, it's going to be Monday before somebody who applies on a Friday night receives anything back.
Wow. So you're saying, but buyers that come into your system get a response within an hour. Is that
within an hour? Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Okay.
And that gives them an electronic confidentiality agreement that if they sign that, we inform the seller, and the seller can say, yep, send them the information or not. And then within 24 hours, they receive that information. Mm-hmm. And that is key, because people's attention span on buying a business is relatively small. And if you don't get back to them quickly, they lose interest quickly. So we make sure that they're getting the information within 24 hours, after they've signed a confidentiality agreement, obviously, and that we follow up with them to see whether they're interested or not.
Love it. One of your brokers said to me when I was talking to them last week that it said something about, it's great because these processes mean I'm not wasting time with buyers who are tire kickers. What do they mean by that? What part of your process helps with that side?
So our technology actually enables us to filter buyers to find true intent. And I don't really want to say too much about that and give it away to the competition, but being able to filter through, we're getting 500-600 inquiries a week on businesses. So being able to filter those down and know which conversations need to be had and which don't, that is key to having enough time to spend with the serious buyer who is going to move ahead and buy. And a buyer who is going to buy will talk to us. Buyers who are not going to buy or not keen won't talk to us. So getting the information to them quickly in a structured manner where they can make a quick decision whether it suits them or not means that the buyer can also move on to something that does suit them, so that they're getting service quicker and making their decisions quicker, and not having to go back and ask for the next 3 or 4 bits of information so they can make a decision. Only people who are then interested after they've received a good package up front come back and ask for additional information or additional questions to be fulfilled, and we know then they're serious.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I see is that slow speed kills deals. You know, it's all about momentum. A lot of the work that I've done in our own systems and processes is finding ways to keep that momentum. But I love the technology approach that you're talking about, because obviously one of the challenges, and maybe it's not obvious, it's obvious to you and I, but maybe not to listeners. One of the challenges in this space is that you can have a red hot buyer, but then you have sellers who then go and take forever to gather their information, right? So you know, and I guess that's sometimes things that we can't control. What do you do with their systems and processes that you build around that to sort of get your sellers to ensure that they've got all of the information ready to go, so they're not the ones slowing down the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a client signs up with us, we've actually got a team that just focuses on getting the client ready for market. And that's not our broker team, so it's our onboarding team. And they follow up with the clients, and it's their job alone to make sure that happens. And the client then receives reminders, follow-ups, and our team are tasked with making sure everything's got everything done, preferably within a week. You know, if we list a new client, we want to have them advertised, with their business profile written, with their financials checked and summarized into their business profile within a week. We can achieve that if the client can achieve it. And our systems help us push that, because when people start, they're keen. And that's when they're most likely to provide the information. If you let them drift for 2 or 3 months without collecting the information, you're never going to get it. And they've lost 2 or 3 months on their sale. Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah. The longer they take, the longer they'll take. Because they either do it now, they won't do it at all. I guess that's the thing we find. But it and I have noticed that with your processes, because you have we can see that you have this defined process of the information collection points, and certainly from our perspective, from the legal side, it helps us to be able to react really quickly when we know what information you'll have and will be sent to us, and we know how quickly we're then going to be able to react to it. So, I can see how it helps tie in the whole process, not just from your side, but then for the next side, which is the contract side, where the clients are moved on to once a buyer has been found. So I think it's just such an important point. Now, what other processes or technology do you implement that you feel is key, in addition to the stuff that we've talked about?
Well, obviously using all of the tools available now through artificial intelligence. So we can track calls, track sentiment in calls, so that we can see that the service levels being maintained, both from our buyers, and also if a client or a buyer becomes aggressive, we can note that and produce a synopsis of that call automatically, which saves time and saves people sitting there writing notes, but also means you've got everything recorded in an accurate way, which means you can go back to things, make sure you haven't missed anything, and make sure that deals stay on track. So, using technology to evaluate calls, evaluate emails, sentiment, all those type of things all help. And we're looking at newer technology all the time, just to make sure we keep on the front of the wave.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Nigel. Where are you looking to the future?
I think obviously AI is going to play a role in every business that's adoptive. So we're looking at how AI can benefit our clients and provide them with a better service. We don't want to go over the top and replace people with it, because at the end of the day, business broking is a people deal, and it's that relationship with you, both parties in the transaction, that enables you to get over the line. However, by using technology and using artificial intelligence where necessary, if we can free up brokers to spend more time on those deals that are going to happen and not on the ones that aren't, then we're giving a better service to our clients.
Well, look, and that's a whole topic in itself. I feel like we need to come back to another podcast here and talk about what are the opportunities that AI is playing in the market at the moment, because boy, oh boy, that is an exciting space that I've been thinking about a lot lately. But look, I just want to say a huge thank you to Nigel for coming on to the podcast. I love the way you guys operate, and I just love to dig into anything related to technology, systems, processes, innovation. So thank you for indulging me here in this discussion, Nigel. And of course, if any of our listeners want to make contact with you, how is that best done?
Well, obviously we've got email, SMS. They can book a call on our website. They can book a free appraisal. Any method. We always answer the phone and we always get back to people, which is also part of our systems because we track everything.
Love it. Love it. It's that insight, isn't it? You know, being able to set the systems up and then see if that they're actually being followed. So that's sort of the next component, setting it up and then obviously them being followed. Look, fabulous. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today. Obviously, we will put the link to phone number, email address, the website. That's right, in our show notes. So anyone who is listening into this, just click into the show notes and you'll get all of that. Nigel, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for coming onto the show today.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Deal Room podcast. We hope you're now primed for your next deal with these pointers and have enjoyed these fascinating insights. Now, if you'd like more information about this topic, then head over to our website at thedealroompodcast.com, where you'll be able to download a transcript of this episode, as well as access any contact details and any other additional information we referred to in today's podcast. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with our guests today and the services they offer, you can go ahead and check out our show notes for a link right through to them and their details. You can also book in directly with our legals at Aspect Legal if you'd like to soundboard your next steps, discuss a legal question, or find out more how we can assist, whether that's with buying or selling a business, or perhaps somewhere in between. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the Deal Room podcast on your favourite podcast player to get notifications whenever a new episode is out. We'd also love to hear your feedback, so please leave us a review and rating if you're already one of our subscribers, or even if you're listening to this podcast for the very first time. Every review helps our team produce valuable content for you. Well, thanks again for listening in. You've been listening to Joanna Oakey and the Deal Room podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. See you next time. Aspect Legal has a number of great services that help businesses prepare for a sale or acquisition, to help them prepare in advance and to get transaction ready. We've also got a range of services to help guide businesses through the sale and acquisitions process. We work with clients both big and small and have different types of services depending on size and complexity. We provide a free consultation to discuss your proposed sale or acquisition. So see our show notes on how to book a time to speak with us, or head over to our website at aspectlegal.com.au.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Room podcast. To find out more about this episode and other episodes in the series, check out the show notes or head over to our website at thedealroompodcast.com.au.